So you want to participate in Steam Next Fest, but you don't really know exactly how the platform works or like what do you actually get out of Steam Next Fest? How should you join? Should you join? How much does the demo matter? Are there other like things you need to keep in mind, like timeline wise, all of those questions, and genuinely basically anything you could potentially have to ask will be answered in this video. This is the full guide to Steam Next Fest. Now, before we begin, I just want to give a quick intro. Who the fuck am I? If you've never seen me before, I've participated in 4 Steam Next Fest so far. Some of them have been absolute miserable with like just 100 wishlists basically at the end of the week. Some of them have been genuinely like legendary level runs, going in with like almost no wishlists and ending up with 10,000 wishlists. I've also done in between there as well. I kind of have been doing Next Fest for I think 4 years at this point, genuinely, since it started back in 2022-23. And it's been something I've been following up not just for our own games, but also for our audience's games. We've had over 800 viewers submitted games that have participated in Steam Next Fest that I've looked at the data for. I've looked at their store pages, what works, what doesn't work. I've also played like genuinely hundreds of hours on this YouTube channel of me going through viewers' demos for the Steam Next Fest and once again seeing what are they doing good, what are they doing bad. And all of those things also again are condensed inside of this video. So part number 1, let's just get right into it. What is Steam Next Fest if you kind of aren't really sure on that? Steam Next Fest, as Steam calls it, is a celebration of upcoming games. It kind of is a the little quick history lore dump for it is back during COVID, there were no physical game events anymore, and that's when Steam introduced kind of online festivals. And Steam Next Fest was one of these festivals to show upcoming games on the Steam platform. It showcases all games that want to like participate, of course, with the demo and that are unreleased yet. It gives like a lot of front page visibility and eyeballs to those developers. And generally, yeah, I think it's a good thing for Steam to participate in. So yeah, it showcases upcoming games that offer a demo. So if your game is already out or your game doesn't have a demo, or like there's an AND operator in there as well, you cannot participate in Steam Next Fest. You need to have a demo and the game needs to be unreleased. If either of those conditions isn't true, you cannot participate. It could be upcoming, but if you do not have a demo, you're not getting any visibility. They run 3 times every year, one in February, one in June, and one in October. Usually it's always in like the second half of the month as well. And you can only participate in Steam Next Fest 1 time per game. And game here means like app credit, basically. So a game you buy like the $100 app credits, the store credit. And then you can participate in 1 Steam Next Fest. Let's say you participate in the February Steam Next Fest, but it was kind of too early, you realize, and you're only going to be releasing in November. You can no longer participate in the June or October Next Fests. You can use it once, and once you've participated in the Steam Next Fest, you cannot join the Steam Next Fest with that same game anymore. How do you register for Steam Next Fest? This is kind of easy. This is part number 1, basically, just simply saying I want to enroll in this. First off, you have a release date set in your Steamworks that is after the Next Fest you want to participate in. So this is a common mistake I see of like people being like, hey, I can't seem to register for the Steam Next Fest. In Steamworks, they have this like specified release date and what customers see. You need to have a specified release date that is after the Steam Next Fest you want to participate in. So for example, if you want to participate in the October Steam Next Fest, if this date currently is stating end of September, you will not see the option to enroll in the Steam Next Fest. Similarly, if this is like unassigned, if you have never set up a like intended release date, you will also not be able to submit or like register for the Steam Next Fest. So you can just put any date out there. Basically, it doesn't need to be public yet, but you just need to give a date to Steamworks of, hey, this is when I'm planning to release my game. Once you've done that, you simply refresh your page, and then under Marketing and Tools, you can see here this Steam Next Fest October 2026 thing. You can click in on it, and it will show you like a quick panel of like, okay, do you want to enroll? There's like a little radio button. You click that, and congratulations, you are now registered. You need to register a little bit less than 2 months in advance. It's kind of the deadline for registering. That doesn't mean that you cannot participate anymore after that deadline has passed, but then your Steam page needs to be public and you need to send a like appeal to Steamworks. So it's kind of like the cost of registering is so low. So just register whenever you have your app credits, even if you're still very far out and you don't even know yet, am I going to really participate in the Steam Next Fest? Yes or no? There's a difference though between registering and participating. Registering, you can do basically very easy. Participating, I mean with this, like you're actually taking place in the Steam Next Fest. This one does require you to have a public store page and a public demo the day that Steam Next Fest starts. Maybe an important thing here, the registering, you can register without your Steam store page being live, being approved or anything like that. You can have a completely brand new fresh Steam app credit. You just set the date and you can register in Steam Next Fest in like 5 minutes, basically, after you've bought your app credit. So that's the one thing, you can register very easily. Participating, that's a little bit of a different story, where you need to be registered and have the demo and have the store page live, and then you will automatically then participate. If you are like, okay, I registered, but turns out that my demo isn't really ready, you can always drop out. There is no penalty for dropping out. It's not like, oh, you are losing your Steam credit. As long as the Steam Next Fest hasn't started, you can at any point in time unregister, and there's no real problem. So that's kind of why I say always register, even if unsure. So you can see here, for example, for the October Next Fest 2026, we currently have 5 registered games. I think realistically 2 of those are going to participate, but it's better to just have all of them registered so that you do not forget like last minute of like, oh, I didn't enroll in the Steam Next Fest for this game, and now it's kind of in this awkward period. We've had games that have been unable to participate in the Steam Next Fest because I forgot to register myself. So now I'm always like, just keep registering and we'll figure it out in the future. So number 2, the timeline. Steam Next Fest has timelines. I'm going to use the October one for an example here because that's just the next one. But these kind of timelines, you can find these on the Steamworks dashboard or like on the Steamworks help pages. They kind of stay always the same. So August 18th, there is a live virtual Q&A session. I'm going to be honest, you do not need to watch that if you've seen this one. It's just the Steam team once again going through like some of the things of like, oh, you need to have your demo submitted enough in advance so that they can check it, because if you don't have the demo, you can't participate. It's pretty like basic stuff in there. You're gonna find more in this video. So you don't need to join this. Also, there are recordings of the previous information sessions. They get uploaded to YouTube as well, so you can take a look there if you want to see like what it's actually like. Then August 31st is the registration deadline, which is in Pacific Daylight Time, which is like the time Valve works on. It's like Seattle time zone basically. And this is when you need to have clicked that register interest button. After that, and this is where kind of like there's a little bit of a difference between what you might be doing and what a other studio might be doing, is that they do also suggest that you already have, for example, your store page live, you have a demo or something already live or a trailer, because after the official registration deadline, Valve is going to start and look at like a few of the most interesting games, like the top games that they can use as marketing material, because they always make like a little trailer that they upload to their YouTube channel as well, and they're looking for games that they can include in that like little trailer. To be honest, I wouldn't worry about this too much. I think this video is designed from the perspective of you're watching Bite Me. You're like a small indie studio and you need to figure out what is Next Fest in the first place. We'll see this as well with press in a second, with like press preview. When we first participated in the Steam Next Fest, we were like very, very stressed about like, oh, we need to participate in the press preview. We need to like crunch to get our demos up earlier and all of that. And it didn't really matter because there's only about 10 to 12 games that they choose. And these are usually the games that, you know, they're already going in with 50,000 wish lists. They're not going to be the like small indie games for the most part that have like 1,000 wish lists at most going into the Steam Next Fest. But yeah, if you should get included because your store page is live already, then you can get included. They'll send you an email and it goes from there. And then, yeah, September 21st, if you'd like your demo to be live at the start of the press preview, this is when you should have submitted. So this is kind of just like a safeguard because it usually takes between like 1 and 2 weeks, assuming something could go wrong still, for your demo, once it's submitted, to actually be approved, because it might go through Q&A, there might be an issue, and then you need to do another round of submissions. So these are the dates that actually matter. The actual Steam Next Fest starts on the 19th of October, and a little bit less than 2 weeks in advance, there's a press preview, but this would require you to have your Steam page live and then potentially have a demo as well. The demo is actually not needed for the press preview. So the press preview is kind of like a more hidden site. You can still find it through Google though, the press preview of like previous events, where you can early on see all of the games participating in the Steam Next Fest already. You can also use this to check if your own game is actually going to participate in Steam Next Fest or if something is wrong. Demo is optional, honestly, but you know, it's suggested to do here as well. We'll talk about timelines more in a second. So don't worry too much about the press preview. I think is honestly what I would say here, but it is a thing to keep in mind as well. I also have never really seen any like news articles from press, like themselves going on to the press preview to find cool games. Usually like the press preview, you as the developer need to send emails to press regardless, and they don't really come to you. So yeah, Steam Next Fest begins every year. It's at 10 a.m. PDT on a Monday, so Pacific Daylight Time once again, and it lasts 7 days, 168 hours. And then there's a little wrap up. If your game is in the top 50 demos, you will get more visibility basically because Steam makes a second page of like, hey, these were the top 50 demos of this year's Steam Next Fest. This is the kind of timeline approval-wise that is best practice, where you would announce your Steam store page around 6 months before the Steam Next Fest starts. You can do more as well, but I think like generally best practice is at least 6 months. And then 3 months before your Next Fest starts, you would already have a first version of the demo out. You do marketing beats with all of those things and kind of get the first demo feedback, make sure that the onboarding is better, get a lot of feedback, and then make a second big Steam Next Fest update for your demo. Generally, you release this like a few days before the actual Steam Next Fest, right before the Steam Next Fest. And then you release the game a few months after Steam Next Fest, 1 to 3 months after Steam Next Fest. Not longer, we're going to talk about it later as well, because then if you're releasing like half a year after Steam Next Fest, you're better off going for a Next Fest later, basically like joining the February one instead of the October one. There's also another side of like the timeline. This is the bare minimums. This is what we've also done for some of our games. And, you know, like if you're doing approaches like, for example, small games, getting a store page out 6 months in advance may not be the most realistic for most developers. You're kind of like more flying at the seat of your pants or something like that. The bare minimum basically is you need to have submitted your Steam page and demo build 2 to 3 weeks before the Next Fest starts for review. So this way, at least like last minute, the day before the Next Fest starts, you can still put both live. Now, you will lose out on multiple marketing beats. This is genuinely not suggested, but I'm just putting it in here of like, this is the bare minimum. You can do this. If you are like, hey, I have this 2-month scoped project or like 3-month scoped, like you're looking at this video when it releases like in the middle of August, you can still kind of basically speed run the October Next Fest. And that's like kind of the whole thing of like the make small games approach allows you to do this, but know that you will lose out on multiple marketing beats. You may lose out on, for example, your Steam page, and you'll still have your Steam page announcement beat for the most part, but like the dedicated demo launch would maybe be combined with that Steam page announcement and all of those things. This is not what I suggest. It is what we have done. I need to say that as well. And it did play out pretty well for us, but I still wanted to include this. This is the better approach. I think this is unfortunately for a lot of developers, the more realistic approach to kind of give you an idea of timelines. So yeah, this is what you could see with us. Like we launched our Steam page on the 18th of February, and then the Steam Next Fest started the 24th or 25th of February, and it just like spiked up immediately. This is, I would say, an anomaly. Do not go in expecting these numbers. But we kind of like, it worked out for us. There's other ways where you see this, where this happens and this line does not go up. It just stays flat and you lost out on your Steam Next Fest, you lost out on your marketing beats, and your game is kind of fucked. And the question is, do you want to risk that with a large scoped game? Most likely not. If you're spending like 2 months on a game, you can like take more risks basically. So how does Steam Next Fest work? This is something that seems to have some level of confusion. Is also where like the whole AI slop argument comes in, that I think you should not worry too much about. Steam Next Fest is split up into 2 dedicated periods. The first 2 days, first 48 hours is this phase, the kind of like random phase. And then after the second day has ended, basically from the start of day 3, Steam takes like a very big lever in their office and they crank it down. And suddenly then the algorithm changes and Steam Next Fest will start giving personalized suggestions. So this is also why you see that argument of the first 2 days of Steam Next Fest, because it is genuinely random and every game, no matter how good or bad it is, gets a baseline amount of impressions and like views basically, will be shown. So you'll see like a lot of like horrible capsules, AI games, asset pack flips, and all of those things the first 2 days of Steam Next Fest. And then Steam will go and they will take like all of that data of like how do people engage with this. And then after the second day has ended, they will start actually giving personalized suggestions. So where do people find out about your game if you're participating in the Steam Next Fest? There's a few places. First off, Trailer TV. I think this is a pretty important one because it is placed right at the top when you click on the Steam Next Fest page. Trailer TV is kind of like an auto-scrolling like widget basically on the Steam page where every 10 seconds a new trailer is shown to you. Like you can even see it of like next game is in 8 seconds. So you get 10 seconds of a trailer and then it goes into the next game and you can then quickly see like, oh, this looks interesting. I want to like install the demo. I want to follow this, or, you know, just give me the next trailer. If you scroll down a little bit more, you get to the kind of like browse all category. And this is where things like capsule matter a lot, because you can see immediately like Inferno Protocol is kind of a weird capsule, I would say. Maybe people don't like that. Whereas like Title Rush, maybe people like that capsule a lot more. Once again, the first 2 days, you will see some absolutely criminal Steam capsules in here, or like the most miserable MS Paint style or like AI generated art, where you have the AI bros look at you with a straight-eyed face and be like, oh, I think this looks really good, and it's just garbage. And this is where you could like go, you can scroll and you're like, hey, this actually looks like an interesting game. Let me once again install the demo, or let's click through and wishlist this. And then also you have genre-based suggestions where you can be like, hey, give me all of the Steam Next Fest games in the hack and slash genre, for example. Here, once again, capsule matters, but also Steam tagging matters. Having enough tags here, you usually want to go for the maximum of 20 tags for your Steam page, will allow you to show up in multiple spaces as well. There's actually a way also that you can see once the event is live where your game is listed. This is kind of like a hidden thing on Steamworks, and it's not available right now, so I can't give you a direct link. But once the Steam Next Fest is live, you can see where within an event you're being shown. So for example, you can see that you're shown up in the casual, strategy management, and like city building tabs if you filter by genre. The more tabs you're in, basically, the more impressions you have. There is something very wrong if you only show up in like 1 or 2 categories here. You should always have more than just like 1 or 2 entries. The games that perform the worst on Next Fest are the ones that just do not show up in the like Next Fest page in general. Okay, let's do a little bit of like, I guess, myth busting and myth approving next. The Steam algorithm is very important. You basically want to be favored after those 48 hours, but what actually matters after those first 38 hours, there's 2 main things that the Steam algorithm looks at. This is also stuff that Steam talks about in those like talks that they upload, like the 1-hour Q&A. So that's kind of like the source. It's a mix of that plus trust me, bro, and just experience. First thing that matters is wishlists gained during the Steam Next Fest. So once the Steam Next Fest starts, basically, and we call that velocity, like how many wishes you get in a certain short period. Long time ago, I think 2 years ago, a little bit more than that, it actually was more of the games that got wishlists the 2 weeks before the Steam Next Fest, and also just how many wishes they had at the start of Steam Next Fest. That isn't the case anymore. Talk about it in a second. So that's number 1, how many wishes you gain in those first 48 hours. And then second off, your conversion rates. Okay, they will give you impressions. That's kind of what I mean here with views. You have impressions to visits, and then visits to wishlists or demo plays. And then also people like, if they play the demo, how many of them wishlist. And they look at the data for that, and they make a profile for you, basically, of like, you are person A. And then there's other people on Steam that they match of like, oh, this person B, they kind of play like person A, and person A really like these games. So we're going to suggest those games to person B as well. And that's kind of the thing of like, these are the stats that really matter. What doesn't matter is the wishlist amount going into the Steam Next Fest. And this is kind of a weird one. There's a little asterisk here where the algorithm doesn't care about wish lists going into the thing, but you will see that like a lot of statistics still show that the more wishes you have going into the Steam Next Fest, the more wish lists you're going to get out of it. That's not really because of the algorithm, but more because of validation. A game that has 20,000 wish lists at the start of Steam Next Fest already has kind of like a virality around it. Already there's like an audience who really loves that game. And it's probably also going to be a pretty good polished game with a good fantasy and a good appeal and all of that. And it's kind of like, the winner's win approach of if you go into the Steam Next Fest, you're already validated, you already have a lot of wish lists, well, probably you're going to get more wish lists as well. Whereas if you go in with 200 wish lists, well, maybe that's just because your game is bad. And if your game is bad, then nobody's going to do those conversions. They're not going to wish list, they're not going to visit, and all of those things. Second thing, playtime length does not matter. They look at just like, do people play the demo? They do not look specifically at like, oh, they played the demo for only 10 minutes or only 30 minutes, or like these guys played the demo for 3 hours. They do not punish short games. Whether your demo is 3 hours, your demo is 15 minutes, both are completely fine for the Steam Next Fest, and the algorithm doesn't really care about that. And the last thing that used to matter more is live stream coverage, where Steam actually allows you to live stream, and there were services like RoboStreamer, where you would just like upload like gameplay footage of your game and you would get extra visibility. That has been gone since I think October 2024, so almost 2 years at this point. Don't really need to bother with live stream coverage anymore. It does not give you any visibility boost, any algorithmic boost, or all of that. So okay, I want to then give you a little bit of an idea of like, what are some good numbers, what are some bad numbers, what can you expect going into the Steam Next Fest? And this is from the howtomarketthegame.com blog, because that's they have even more data than I do. If you get over 10,000 wishlists from the Steam Next Fest, you're doing really, really, really solid. You're in like the top 2% or something of like all games participating in Steam Next Fest. I think even like top 1% basically. Gold tier, 7,000 to 10,000 wishlists. Silver tier, which is like, I guess, more common, 1,000 to 7,000 wishlists. And bronze tier, kind of like if you're a bad game, you're going to get between 0 and 1,000 wishlists. I think, genuinely, if you're gonna get like 250 wishlists most likely from the Steam Next Fest, even if your game is pretty bad. Like we had some pretty mediocre games, like a desktop idler pet, just a virtual enemy girl. That one got like 700 wishlists, which is pretty, for what that game was pretty okay, I would say. But it's not that great in the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of the first thing. Don't really expect, I think, a good, like, if you feel like you're confident about your game, but it's not like an amazing game, you don't go in with like 30,000 wishlists or something. I think 2,000 wishlists is kind of also a number that I see like on average around the 2,000 range for a Steam Next Fest if you have a moderately competent game. This is once again also from How to Market the Game. This is that thing that I was talking about. Like if you go in with more wishlists, you do genuinely get more wishlists out, but that is also because you have more marketing. A game that has over 100,000 wishlists, IGN can upload trailers. They will get press articles written about the fact that they are participating in Steam Next Fest, and they kind of have like more traffic going to them regardless from the Steam Next Fest, yes or no. Steam is not giving you more wishlists basically by themselves, but you're probably having a better game, so you get more. So out of the submitted games, you can also see here the minimum a single game got was 41 wishlists from the Steam Next Fest. That's still a bad performance, don't get me wrong. But if you go in with 200 wishlists, suddenly getting 40 may seem interesting and like maybe like, oh, this is perfect. But in the grand scheme of things, 40 wishlists is just a bad result, basically. I think generally, as you can see here with the 1 to 9K, you're hitting at about the 1K, 1.7K, 2K, 5K, In that range, it depends a lot on more things like what game are you making, what's the genre, what's the hook, all of those things. And it's not just only the wishlist going in. These are also some stats that I have from our own audience. So the sample size is relatively similar, but this is actually our data pool from people like you who watch me in my white t-shirt talk about game development. I always do like these little surveys at the start of every Steam Next Fest. For the February Next Fest, we got 172 submissions. 350 wishlists was the median, 6,000 wishlists was the average. I would kind of ignore the average because there were some like 50,000 plus wishlist games in there. Median wishlists, 350 before the Next Fest. That's not really that good. And then, what they expect, that's another very fun question to ask developers of like, hey, how many wishlists do you expect to gain from the Steam Next Fest? On average, people expect 3,000. That's not what they actually get, just what they expect. Or the median expects 633. If you're going with 350 wishlists, do not expect to like triple your wishlist in total, like getting another 633 wishlists. I think that is unfortunately not going to happen most of the time. Something else that I think is a very interesting thing that I want to talk about is that Steam Next Fest, whilst it's all around centered about like upcoming games and demos, the demos almost don't really matter that much. And this is something I want to caveat this. I do not suggest this. I think you should try to make better games, but there is kind of a use case almost, you could say, of participating in Steam Next Fest, even if you have a dogshit demo, if you're going to release the game quickly right after Steam Next Fest anyway, not from the wishlist from the demo, but just from the wishlist from the extra visibility. You see that here as well. Around 70% on average of all wishlists you get from Steam Next Fest will come from so-called window shoppers. People who are just browsing the Steam Next Fest page and are like, hey, this game looks interesting, let me add this to wishlist, but who do not have the time to go and play 50 different demos over like an entire week. So you can see that here Steam gives you these graphs as well of how many players there are, how many people you wishlisted, and how many people actually played and wishlisted. So out of the 10,000 wishes we got for MO98, only 2,500 actually played the demo, and 7,500 just saw the game during the Steam Next and are like, man, this looks pretty interesting, let me wishlist it, and then moved on to the next game. Similarly to My Virtual Friend, that was that desktop pet game that I was talking about. Only 99 players actually played the demo, and then we basically had another 900 wishlists. I think this is almost more like 88% who just saw the game and was like, this looks cute, I'm going to wishlist it, and moved on then. So now you're like, okay, 2,000 wishlists from Next Fest sounds awesome. How do I join the Steam Next Fest, and how do we get your game ready to make the most out of Steam Next Fest? First thing is we stop. Your demo is not a playtest. This is something I want to keep screaming at you. Okay, we understand this? Okay, question mark? Then do not start your Steam Next Fest demo with something like this. This was from a viewer-submitted game, early alpha disclaimer, and it's like created for testing and gathering feedback, and that this is wrong. Your demo is not your playtest, especially join the Steam Next Fest. Your Next Fest is your last stop before releasing a game. This is generally like, your game is 1 or 2 months out from release. All of the major bugs are fixed. Like a lot of the gameplay loop is solved already. As in like you as a developer have figured out this is fun, this is what people like. This is not a playtest. Again, even though 75% of people are kind of just wishlisting and window shopping, that doesn't mean that your demo needs to be bad. You're getting a lot of extra eyeballs. Do not waste them with a bad demo. You see these things of like, I see viewers submitted demos without things like main menus, without settings and all of those things. And for a playtest, it's fine. But for a Steam Next Fest build, that doesn't work. Don't do that. Playtesting and demo feedback should ideally have started months ago. That's also why in that like best case scenario timeline, you get the demo out 3 months before the Steam Next Fest. And then sure, you can put in like the little disclaimer of like, yeah, there might be like some bugs here and there, whatever. But do not put a disclaimer of like, hey, this game is gonna be buggy at the start of your Steam Next Fest demo. Because what are you telling your players basically? Oh, this game isn't really that good, but hey, thanks for playing it anyway. And I think also there's this kind of troubling trend where some people are using Next Fest as more of a playtest. And it just disrespects not just your audience, but I think also the entire game dev ecosystem of what Next Fest is supposed to be like. There's like these days of like, oh, Steam Next Fest is now just a game jam where you're kind of just making a shitty game and putting it up on the Next Fest and using that as your validation because you're getting a lot of eyeballs. Don't do that. I think that's a dick move. I think that's a bad developer move. And I think you just shouldn't do that because you are ruining the quality of Steam Next Fest and the future of Steam Next Fest potentially for the next few years because you're kind of muddying the waters of what Steam Next Fest is supposed to be like. Steam Next Fest at the end of the day is an event for players that we as the developers can get a lot of benefits for. But Steam is not doing it for developers specifically. They're doing it because a lot of more players are buying games, which makes them money. And by just putting up half-baked demos and half-baked trailers, players will not like Steam Next Fest as much anymore. And if the sentiment for Steam Next Fest is more negative, then Steam is going to have to change it. They're gonna, I don't know, probably not cancel it, but maybe they're gonna do like more strictness with it. They're gonna change how it's working right now, and it may not be in a positive direction. And then we get to kind of the sad thing of what if your game is not ready? What if you want to participate in Steam Next Fest, but it's just honestly too early? So once again, we had 172 viewer-submitted games, and half of those had under 300 wishlists the moment Steam Next Fest started. I put a little graph here. 23% of games had under 100%. These are like cumulative, so it's not like, don't add these up because I know it doesn't add up to 100, but like 2/3 of all games participating in Steam Next Fest had under 1,000 wishlists, 50% had under 300, and 25% have under 100 wishlists. Going back earlier, the amount of wishlists you have before the Steam Next Fest starts is an indicator of, okay, this game is probably, there's an audience for it. People are going to like it. People know what this festival is. People know what this game is, and they are interested in it. And if you're joining the Steam Next Fest with 100 wishlists, the game most likely is not ready. There's kind of two options. And the first option, and nobody wants to hear this, is my game is bad and nobody really wants it. If you join the Steam Next Fest with 100 wishlists, Next Fest is not going to save the game, but I also don't know if you really should fall out of the Next Fest because the game is just inherently so bad and so fucked that you cannot save it in the first place. This is what you often see with like bad genre choices, like for example, a 4:3 locked aspect ratio like shoot 'em up, or something with like very crappy like Gen AI art, or like a very bad capsule, very bad visuals in general. And it's like, okay, you could fall out of the Steam Next Fest, but there is like the core of this game is unfortunately so rotten and just such a bad gameplay idea that most likely you cannot salvage this anyway. That's option number one. Option number two, which is unfortunately less common, even though everybody wants to believe they are in the second camp, is, okay, the game is good, but you just haven't put any effort into marketing it. If you get this game in front of enough people, you kind of are like confident that, hey, this game is actually going to pop off. It's kind of what happened for us with MO98, where we were just on such a tight development timeline that we were confident that the game was very polished, and if people played it, they would enjoy it, but we just hadn't had the time to market it properly before. In that case, if it's like Steam Next Fest is starting, you have 200 wishlists, but you are confident about your game, most likely you just want to pull out. Because Next Fest should be, again, the last stop. After Next Fest, there's not that much marketing anymore. You need to do all the marketing steps. You need to reach out to content creators. You need to reach out to press. You need to join other festivals as well to build up your wishlist as well. And by joining the Steam Next Fest too early, I see developers do this time and time again where they join the Steam Next Fest like a year in advance before their game comes out. You will regret it later on. You will regret that, oh, actually, looking back, Next Fest was such a great opportunity, but my demo wasn't ready, my game wasn't ready, and I could have done so much more if I had just spent more time on marketing the game and on getting the game out there earlier and getting feedback that way, and then join the Next Fest later. And hey, this is the part where I'm going to shill myself. If you want to get a third-party perspective from someone, like I said, who has played hundreds of Steam Next Fest demos at this point, I can work together with you. You pay me 129 euros, you get a 20 to 30 minute video of me playing your game, giving you feedback, narrating like my feedback all along the way, giving you like a little like list of like, hey, these are all the things I would work on. And then we hop on a call afterwards and we talk about where do we go next? Okay, what are the problems? How do we solve these problems? Okay, the game is good. How do you market it? I give you all of my marketing experience and like the context I have for like press content creators, all of those things. Or maybe we need to take a step back and it's like, okay, this game actually, whilst it's interesting, like we need to change some core level of the game design, for example, if we really want to find an audience with it. If you want to find out more information, there's a link down below. Like I said, it's 129 euros. I think it's a pretty fair price for everything that you get. You can go over to bmg.yt/ship it, or again, the link is going to be in the description as well, where you can read more information about this whole thing. I've done like over 15, almost 20 of these calls at this point, and people always like it, and they have a lot of actionable feedback at the end of the day. So I think it's very much worth it if you want to make the most out of Steam Next Fest, because I think this can genuinely be the difference between getting 100 wishlists and 1,000 wishlists from the Steam Next Fest, or even more. So, okay, you want to make a good demo and you don't have 129 euros to spend on me. I also have a bunch of free resources that I've made on how do you make a good demo. I think the 3 core things that you need to focus on for Steam Next Fest is 1, having quick onboarding. Don't start your game with long cutscenes. Don't have like studio logos and a long ass tutorial. Have a clear ending. That's another important one. Don't just let the demo go on forever until the player gets bored with it. Decide early on, okay, after like 25 minutes of gameplay, something like that, for example, I'm going to make this thing happen in game, and there's going to be a little pop-up that says, thank you for playing the demo, go and wishlist it now, and it's like a picture of your cat to guilt trip people into wishlisting more, and it should be bug free. There's much more, as you can see on this list on the side here. You can access this whole list for free as well by going to bmg.yt/demo, linked down below as well. And that brings us to another question of like, okay, we're going to have a demo, and this is a question I get often of like, should you have a dedicated demo page? Yes or no? Honestly, both options perfectly valid. If you have no demo page, you're going to perform well. If you have a demo page, you're going to perform just as good or just as bad. Algorithmically also, there is no real difference between like how the algorithm doesn't treat you better if you have like good review scores or all of that. It's more of like secondary effects of like, yeah, if you have a dedicated Steam demo page, you can get the reviews. And if that is going to be like overwhelmingly negative, okay, people might not want to play your demo as much. But results-wise, genuinely, there is not much difference. I think it's like a 1% increase in wishlists for studios that have a dedicated demo page, but that's also because they generally are more confident about their game. They can have to put the reviews out there, and the game is usually a little bit better. It opens you up to reviews, like I said, which requires more confidence. But if you have bad reviews, you can also just go back to not having a dedicated demo page. There's no real downside for it either. If you feel like, oh, I think my demo is not that great, you're going to get like mixed ratings, then step number 1 is maybe we should look at how do we make this demo better. And then step number 2 is, okay, if there actually is something wrong, we just convert it back to a normal page and all of the reviews disappear. Another important thing when you're getting ready for the Steam Next Fest is, okay, we've been talking so much about the demo because the demo is very important, but again, people are window shopping, so don't forget the Steam page itself. Localization. English is only 1/3 of all of Steam. So localizing to other languages like Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, Portuguese, all of those languages will help a lot in appearing in front of more people. You do not need to per se localize the demo, although that is also highly suggested, but you have to localize the Steam pages. You also need amazing capsule art. You need something that, once again, you see that big list of browse and you need to be the scroll stopper. You need to be the game that people look at and they're like, oh shit, this capsule looks really, really good. I want to click on it. Just good, honestly, doesn't cut it. You need amazing level capsule art. And sometimes that costs money, and I'll be the first person to start hating on the big capsule mafia and how prices have gotten utterly insane with like $1,000+ for a Steam capsule. you can do good things yourself as well. You just need to sit down and like think a little bit more about it. We have like some streams where we've done as well, or like you can hop over in our Discord if you want to get feedback on your Steam capsule art. Because I think most of the capsules we've made, like for example the MO98 one, we've done just ourselves in like an afternoon. You can do a lot of good stuff just by spending a little bit of time yourself already and fucking around in Photoshop, for lack of a better word, but really going into the idea of finding like the core visuals of your game and using that for very nice capsule art, or just paying $1,000 or $500 to someone to make you good capsule art as well. Another thing, make a new trailer. It's a marketing beat. Your Steam Next Fest demo trailer. It's also used for trailer TV. So you want to put in the action up front. You want to make sure that this is something that people who only have 10 seconds to look at your trailer can very quickly understand, oh, this is the game. It looks really cool. Let's go and take a look at that. Varied screenshots and GIFs and all of those things. Once again, there's a full list that you can access here. This is just a part of it by going to bmg.yt/Steam page. Once again, linked down below. Creator outreach is another one that you need to do. So you have the demo kind of ready. And NextFest is, like I said, a marketing beat, not just for the visibility you get from NextFest itself, but you're also wanting to kind of have it as an excuse to contact content creators and present all of that to, once again, cover your demo, play your demo, get more wish lists that way, instead of only relying on Steam themselves. This is kind of a template timeline, I would say, where the top line here is kind of like how many months into development you are. So one marketing beat is, for example, your announcement. Your playtest could be another marketing beat. Your demo initial announcement can be a marketing beat where you reach out to content creators. And then next fest, you do a big demo update. And once again, you reach out to content creators. Those are kind of like the main marketing beats. So once again, when you reached out for the demo, which you should have done, if you haven't done that yet, reach out to content creators, be like, hey, there's a demo out now. It would be a lot if you can play it. Doing a similar thing for Steam Next Fest is also something I'd suggest. What you can do here is you can have a dedicated branch that, for example, has the major Next Fest demo update already available on it, and then sending the creators release date override keys is what it's called. So they have a better version of the demo than what the normal people have who would just go to your Steam page. And you send them this 3 weeks plus in advance of when the Steam Next Fest starts. Content creators, they're kind of miserably swamped the moment that Steam Next Fest kind of starts, like 1 or 2 weeks in advance. They get like genuinely 10 to 50 to sometimes even 100 emails in a single day of people saying like, hey, I'm participating in Steam Next Fest. Don't you want to play my demo? By sending the emails 3 weeks in advance with the like cool snazzy game build, you give them time to record it before the Steam Next Fest actually started, and then they can just schedule it for when Steam Next Fest starts, and they don't need to like scramble the moment Steam Next Fest starts itself. Then we get to what to do during the Steam Next Fest. And this is honestly a pretty short chapter. And I think that's kind of an important one. We spend a lot of time getting our game ready for the Steam Next Fest. But once it's Steam Next Fest itself, it gets very chill. Step number 1, don't panic. Be available for the first few hours should something, for some cosmic reason, still go wrong. For example, your build doesn't run on like macOS or something like that. Be available for that. But at that point, your demo should have been out for multiple months or multiple weeks at least. And it should have been tested quite a bit already. You're confident in the fact that, hey, this is going to run and people are not going to like think that this is just malware that they install on their PC. And then resist the urge to push updates. This is kind of a deliberate, like how little there is on the slides here, because I think you genuinely shouldn't do too much during the Steam Next Fest itself. I see developers do this where they're pushing daily updates for the Steam Next Fest as well, based on like player feedback. I think you're kind of chasing fires needlessly. You should be confident in your demo and then just like sit back on your rocking chair and just like watch all the feedback come in, watch all the data come in. But don't immediately act upon it. Wait until the next fest is over. Wait until you have more of a high-level view of like, these were all of the main sentiments. Of course, if there is something like miserable quality of life that you can very easily fix, you can still do that. But do not touch any of your core systems. Do not touch anything that remotely touches your save file system and all of that, because it's way too easy to break something. And the impact of breaking your demo during Steam Next Fest is enormous compared to the potential upside you can get. There's a lot of demos on the Steam Next Fest that have whack balancing that are not really optimal, but at least they didn't change things during the Steam Next Fest itself, and you just ride it out, and then afterwards you get back to work. Another thing you should do is just chill and play some other games as demos. That's the best way, honestly, to learn what you should and shouldn't do. Look at what the top demos are doing. What do they do good? Maybe it's the genre they chose. Maybe it's the onboarding they do. Maybe they have a really good call to action or like a store page that's optimized for Steam Next Fest. what demos do you also see that, you know, I hate how they implement the onboarding. They're doing stuff wrong and all of those things. You, for example, see like somebody, a game that the moment you close the game, it automatically opens like a web browser logged into Steam or something like that. And you're like, I don't want that. Don't like hijack my PC. You will learn more from playing other people's demos than you will from like watching these kinds of videos of like, oh, how should I make the optimal Steam Next Fest build or whatever. Just play more demos as well. Use that week as kind of downtime for your own game because you've been pushing on this so much to get it ready for the Steam Next Fest. Now go and play what some other people are doing with the Steam Next Fest. And either you're going to feel very confident of like, oh, actually I have a really good demo, or you're going to feel inspired like, oh, fuck, I could have done so much more better for my next demo that I'm going to like learn from and write down and all of that. And then Next Fest is over and we get to the big question, what after Steam Next Fest? First off, you probably want to check some of your stats. First off, if your game has low impressions, it might be a tagging issue, it might be an algorithm issue. This is low impressions in general, so this means like nobody saw your game in the first place, even in those first 48 hours, because like I said, you don't show up in like enough of the like tagging specific hubs and all of that, your trailer TV and all of that. Second off, okay, we have a decent amount of impressions, but very low visits or very low wish lists. This mainly means that there is something wrong with the store page. Maybe your capsule wasn't intriguing. Maybe the hook, like the short description, didn't really explain why people would want to get the game. The screenshots were bad, all of those things. If you have high demo downloads but low wish lists, there's most likely something wrong with your demo itself. Like look at the playtime stats. A general benchmark, you can see this in the Steam dashboard as well, is that you want over 80% of all players to play for more than 10 minutes. If you reach that, okay, you have a pretty okay demo. Of course, higher is even better, like 85% or even 90% means you have a really good demo. If it's under 80%, there's something wrong with your demo. Simple as it. You need to start over from scratch. Look at people playing the demo. Where are you losing them in the onboarding? Is there something that's just annoying them? Too much like text pop-ups, tutorial pop-ups, all of those things? Or is there like some fucked up balance thing where people are immediately losing? You need to figure this out. Once again, if these things go wrong, try not to like hotfix too much on the Steam Next Fest itself, but just look at all of the data after Steam Next Fest is over itself. And then don't launch immediately, because that's kind of the thing of like, okay, Next Fest is the final stop before we release, but that doesn't mean that right after Next Fest you should release. I think it's actually one of the dumbest things you can do is releasing right after Next Fest, because you're joining the line with like, genuinely like on the days after Steam Next Fest, there's up to 100 games releasing in a single day. And it's extremely crowded. They're all fighting for new and trending. They're all fighting for popular upcoming, and you're simply not going to fit into there for the most part. There's also the kind of concept that I see our players have as well of like, oh, but if I just got like so many wishes from the Steam Next Fest, I have kind of like momentum. And if I release right after, I'm going to get a better conversion on launch. I think Game Discover Co. and such have done some research into it, and these are generally all debunked. Whether you release the week after or the month after or 2 months after, kind of the conversion rates stay the same for the most part. And also there's other stuff like the June Next Fest is 1 week before the Steam Summer Sale starts. I think even less, like 5 days or something. It's just miserable. Do not launch during a summer sale. Do not launch in the 5 days before the summer sale. You're going to have to wait it out basically until after the summer sale, because otherwise you're losing out on so much visibility. There's too much competition, all of those things. And then what should you do with the demo? This is another question. I would generally leave the demo up, especially right after Next Fest. Leave the demo up, and it also allows you to keep joining like other festivals, get more visibility for them. If you join like, for example, I don't know, Tiny Teams or other Steam Fests or third-party festivals, they generally give more visibility to games that have demos as well. So you get more out of that. People like to play demos. Also, maybe people may have wishlisted the game, but they didn't play the demo during the Steam Next Fest, and they want to revisit it later on after like kind of things have calmed down again. Sometimes there could be a case made of once the game is about to come out, taking down the demo. This depends on the game genre, how much playtime the demo has versus the full game, and all of those things. There's no real one-size-fits-all approach. There's pros and cons to both. The quick rundown is generally if you have the demo up whilst the game is out, you're going to get like higher review scores, because people who wouldn't have liked the game would have played the demo first, and then they would have realized, oh, this game is not for me, and they wouldn't have bought it and left a negative review in the first place. On the other hand, there's a statement of like, if you take the demo down, you're going to earn more money, because people will just buy the game instead of maybe like trying out the demo but not being completely convinced that they want to actually spend money on the game, because there's more friction in doing a refund than just playing the demo and not being interested in the game. And there's both approaches, like I said, no perfect one. And then you just go and you look at, okay, let's release. How do we plan our release from here? So 1 to 3 months after Steam Next Fest is kind of what you want to do release-wise. I say here, depending on game success, if your game kind of had like a mediocre like Next Fest, just release it like relatively soon afterwards and move on to the next game. If you have a game that performs really, really well from the Next Fest, there is a case to be made of like, okay, let's spend another 1-2 months extra than we had originally planned on this to kind of build up more wishlists, even build up more marketing, do a little bit more gameplay features and things we get from community feedback, maybe some scope creep ideas to make this game the best possible game on release. But don't wait longer than like 3 or 4 months. Don't be like, okay, let's actually delay until after the next Fest, for example, because you're not joining that anymore anyway. Doesn't really make much sense. Also, what I would do now with the way personal calendar works and all of that is that right after Steam Next Fest, you will actually do another marketing beat, which is the release date announcement. And then you say like, oh, this game is going to come out December, I don't know, 15th or something. Like you give a concrete day, you'll start showing up in personal calendar. You can also use this as an extra marketing beat to make a release date announcement trailer. Once again, try to get some more wishlists from that. And it gives you some time as well to actually take a look at all of the feedback from Steam Next Fest. What's some quality of life, what's some onboarding issues, what's some bugs and things like that. Whilst a demo, especially the Next Fest demo, is not supposed to be a playtest, it will still give you feedback. That's kind of just because so much more people will come to your game, things will break. Maybe Turkish people can't play your game with their keyboard for some reason. Maybe ultra-wide users have kind of a weird edge case that you didn't think about before. And you want to go through that feedback and you want to solve those. And you want to start planning your full games release content creator coverage. Because once again, same thing here. Let's say we're releasing December 15th. Probably by December 1st latest, we want to have sent out our like release ready builds already to content creators to once again create content for. Maybe you do an embargo, maybe not. It's out of the scope of this video, but you want to start planning the full like game marketing as well. You take a look at, okay, who covered the Steam Next Fest demo? They will most likely also want to cover the full game if you give them early access to it. Put them on the content creator list. There's other videos on this channel and all of that you can look at to learn more about that. So this video is getting long. Let's take a quick recap and where should we go next? I think as a quick summary, Next Fest is one of your core marketing beats. You cannot control content creators, you cannot control press covering you, but you can control Next Fest. Next Fest is one of those festivals that's kind of guaranteed right now. That's also why I say I do not like people who are mistreating Next Fest, because there might be a future one day where we cannot guarantee the fact that any game can join Next Fest anymore. We had games where Next Fest was really well, but for some reason content creators never wanted to pick up the game, press didn't want to pick up the game, and we cannot control that. You cannot force press or content creators to play your game. You can send out as many emails as you want, you can just get unlucky and nobody will cover it. Even though, they're very strong, it happens. But you can always control participating in Steam Next Fest, and you can make the best possible demo for Next Fest as well, because that is completely in your control. The upside can be huge for the amount of effort required. I think for the most games that get made, a demo should be done for marketing purposes anyway. And if you have a demo, the extra step of going from the demo to a Next Fest demo is honestly not that much. It's a little bit of extra prep work, but the upside and the extra visibility is 100% worth it. And also Next Fest just multiplies the game that you bring to the table. If you bring a good game, you're generally going to get good wish lists coming out of it. The problem is just, what is a good game? Do you know what it is that a good game is? Is it the sauce? Is it the pitch? Is it the capsule? The better the game is that you bring to Next Fest in the first place, the more wishes you're going to get out of it. If you join the Next Fest with 100 wish lists, it's probably not going to be a good Next Fest for you. If you join with a game that's already validated, it's got 5,000 wish lists, 10,000 wish lists, Next Fest is going to be extremely, extremely worth it for you. So if you're watching this, the where next step is very easy. If you already have a Steam app credit, go and register your game right now. Even if you're not really even certain, oh, I'm going to join the October Next Fest, yes or no, the deadline, at least when this video is coming out, is still open for 2 weeks. So just register, put in the date. You can unregister at any time and then start planning of, okay, I want to join with a demo. How should I design the demo? How long should I go? What features should I put into it? What's the call to action going to be like? All of those things. And check your Steam page as well. Like I said, there's a lot of resources on this channel. We've been making videos for multiple years now, all of our experiences, all of the learnings and all of that. So if this is the first video that you see of us, you probably want to click on like the Bite Me Games button and just go to the channel and look at some more videos, because I think there is an extremely high amount of value in here. That's all basically. Go and watch this video now. Everything a demo needs. I think that is going to give you most of the questions answered. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this format of video. And also if there's anything else you would like one of these full guides on. That's all I had to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.